Everybody, this is Jack from Long Walk Ministry and the ministry called The Bible and the Badge, regarding first responders and the Bible. I had a dream the other night. I was reading the Bible and praying, and I happened to be sitting in the exact same place I was sitting when I asked God about the dream last month on February 6th, and actually exactly a month. And I remember saying, Lord, a month ago I was sitting in this same spot and I asked you a question. You answered it in a dream. And so I proceeded to ask him another question of something that I was really pondering, and it had to do with me and going out there and being the body of Christ, and what my duty as a member is. And I'm like, Lord, I know everyone has their own duties, and I don't really know mine yet. And I said, but I'm not really a people person. My wife says I don't like people, which is not true. I love people, but I don't like to be caught up in crowds and you know, and all that. I don't know, maybe some guys can relate to that. Maybe some women can relate to that. But I'm not really one to go out there and mingle with people. Not so much big crowds, but even like medium-sized crowds, even at work, because they start conversations and then they start talking. And forgive me, but when they start talking and complaining about work, about taxes, about election, whatever it is, about the weather, I'm just thinking, can I get out of here? You know, I don't engage in those kind of conversations, especially when you start complaining about people at work or family and start talking behind people's back. That's just not me. I'm not going to join in that conversation, because for me, it's a sin. You know, because you're gossiping about somebody. You're talking behind their back. If you got a problem with them, go to them directly. And in my mind, in these last days, it's all about Jesus Christ, and it's all about the coming of the kingdom. It's all about warning people. And I'm sitting there waiting for an opportunity to jump in with the gospel. And I've done that before. And that's pretty much where the entire conversation stops, and everyone usually has something to do at that point. And it's like, okay, it just doesn't, it's not my cup of tea. Or worse, I'll get caught up in the conversation. I'll say something, it's like, you know what, you're not supposed to be of this world. Don't partake into this stuff. Separate yourself from it. So that type of arena for me is just not conducive with me. I'm like, Lord, where am I supposed to be? What do you want me to do to where I can glorify you and do your work? I'm like, I really would like an answer for that. And I'm not sure I really like the answer, because I did have a dream that night. This was, what is today? Today's Sunday. This was like March 6th, whatever day that was. Thursday? Friday? I think Thursday or Friday. So in the middle of the night, I get up and woke up a couple times, and I'm thinking, have I had a dream? And I'm thinking back, I'm like, no. And this went on into a morning. I'm like, did the Lord give me a dream? And normally, if it's a dream that He wants me to remember, I'll remember it. I won't have to think twice, or I'll ask the Holy Spirit to bring it to my attention. But so I went back to sleep, because it was only like 4:30 or 5:30. And dream. I was with my friend, my best friend from high school, and even into college. And he loved to fish. He loved to fish. And I've learned a lot from him from fishing. We used to go fishing everywhere, out in the ocean, rivers, streams, everywhere. Haven't been fishing with him for a while, but he was in the dream. And we were going fishing, and we were it had to be the ocean. Because we end up in the water. And he's treading water next to me. And we're looking at this female, dark hair. I'm pretty sure it was a female, as opposed to maybe Jesus. Pardon my voice, but it's kind of bumpy on this part of the road. And she's got this marlin. She's standing on top. There's this marlin underneath her in the water. And you can see the bill, the long sword. And she's trying to untangle a net or fishing line from its gills and stuff. And the marlin's really calm. And she's saying, this is not the right way to do it. This is going to kill the fish. This is wrong. And I'm like looking at her, and I'm like looking at my friend, because none of this is making sense. I'm like, what is she doing? And then she said, okay, it's done. And she let the marlin go, and she kind of went between us and was gone. And I think maybe she explained, or somehow we knew that we had to strap the bait or whatever it was to our ankles. So I was putting it on my friend, and it was like neoprene booties, like scuba diving booties you put underneath your shoes or whatnot. They're neoprene, and it was a strap, like a webbing. It was attached and it went down under the water. And I'm trying to tie these booties, or tape these booties onto my friend, onto his legs, and I'm using duct tape. Being a bomb tech, we use duct tape for everything. We can do anything with duct tape and a line, and pretty amazing. But he's trying to tell me, don't make it so it'll fall off, and I think that's what he was saying. And I'm thinking, well, I'm making it so it's strong, but it'll break away so it doesn't pull you down. So we finally do it, and he gets a bite. And I don't know what we're supposed to do at this point. Maybe overpower a marlin in the ocean with our hands, because our feet are tied together. Well, it took him down. And I'm thinking, now what? So I start diving down. I immediately think, I don't have scuba tanks on. I can barely see him. I can't dive that deep on a breath hold. And what's going through my mind is, I can't save him, but I don't want him to die. I have to go down to do it. And I'm thinking, Lord, I have to rely on you. And all this is going through my mind. And I know this is a dream. I know it's not real. So I know he's not in danger. And I'm thinking all this in my head. I'm like, okay, Lord, if I go down, I know I'm going to run out of breath. And I know that is when I'm going to have to say, God, I am relying on you to keep me alive. And I'm thinking also, this is an impossible situation. And I'm thinking, That's when you rely on God. That's what He does. That's a miracle. So I never did actually go down and do it because it was all a thought process at that point. So after thinking about it, after I woke up, all I can really come up with is one, that obviously you rely on God, on Jesus in the impossible situations. And to me, that's a life and death situation. I mean, that's either you do it, you're going to die. If you don't, someone else is going to die. And Jesus is going to come through in an impossible situation. And it also reminded me of when Jesus told the apostles that follow me and I'll make you fishers of men. And it also kind of told me that to be fishers of men, I have to be amongst the men, you know, be in the water with them. So in other words, whether I like being around people or not, to witness to them, I'm going to have to be around people, whether I like it or not. So, I will. So that was a dream. Let me know your thoughts below. And I also want to say, regarding my dream last month, you know, the Lord told me that this thing that we're up against, the coronavirus, there is no cure. We're going to rely on Him completely. He's the only cure. We as Christians know that. And I sent an email out to all my coworkers at work, and I told them that for them to take this virus serious, because it's going to affect your lives, whether it be at work and at home. It's going to get to the point where you're not going to be able to get away from it. And I said this before in a roll call training, just regarding these last days. I knew 2020 was going to be a heavy year, but I never knew this was going to happen. Whether it's dangerous or not as far as killing, because they don't really know the case fatality rate, because the numbers they're getting aren't true pretty much from anywhere. I think South Korea is pretty much the most honest right now, but it's a pretty deadly disease, at least 10, maybe 100 times worse than the flu, which kills thousands and thousands. So I told them at work, it will affect your finances, it will affect you at home, it will affect you, it will cause you to take a look at your job and say, is this really worth it? I didn't sign up for this, you know? And my heart goes out to all those first responders, like especially the nurses and the firemen, but the nurses, they got to wake up every day and go to work and wonder every time someone comes in with a cough or sniffle, is this the coronavirus? They don't know. The CDC is not. They've tested like 1,500 people, less than 2,000 people in the United States as of today. That's crazy. And then they're telling people not to wear masks. It's mind-boggling. So they're of no help, the government, as far as that aspect of it. So I told them at work, and they didn't believe me. A couple people kind of laughed, and I know they kind of snickered and talked behind my back, but that's okay. They do that anyway. So if you are a first responder, police, fire, paramedic, nurse, anyone working in a hospital, you guys are gonna get taxed heavily in the near future. There's only like 900,000, less than 1 million hospital beds in this country. And a lot of those are full right now just for regular medical patients. And then you add now a virus that nobody really knows where it came from. And the serious people absolutely need hospital care and respiratory care, because it is a acute respiratory disease, which is kind of scary because it pretty much leads to pneumonia. So they will need hospital care. So my hat's off to you, and I pray for you. Just hang in there, because God knows. He knows you're working. Keep looking to Him for your strength. Keep looking to Him for your comfort. Keep looking to Him for your protection. That you can keep doing what you're doing. Trust in Him. That's what I do. I'm heading home right now. My wife is extremely sick. Don't think it is the virus. She got it. Actually, her and her family went and did a cancer run last weekend. And I think 4 or 5 of them came home within a day or two sick. But some of them it's kind of migrated into their lungs, and right now my wife has a lot of pain in her lungs, and she's probably not getting the oxygen content in her blood. So we may end up going to the doctors when we get home, but don't know if it's the coronavirus or not, because the hospitals aren't testing. They don't have proper testing kits. They can't test. CDC doesn't even have the kits. They're not even giving them to the doctors and hospitals, let alone for clinic, urgent care. It's just not. So, you know, if you look at the numbers, let's say my family has coronavirus. That's 4 or 5 members right now walking around with it. They don't believe they have it. They're not testing for it at the doctor's office. So that's 4 or 5 people. Let's say the ratio is 4 to 5, meaning reported, unreported. I know it's worse than that. And I think the United States, I don't even know, but let's say there's 1,000 cases. Well, if those ratios, which are extremely off of reported, unreported, that means there's basically 5,000 cases, not 1,000. It's probably more of 100 to 1, I would be, if not more. Just adding up the people that I know that if they're sick, they wouldn't tell anybody, and if they do, they're around affecting it 4 or 5 other people. I mean, it's gonna there's numbers to already prove this, but it's kind of getting off the point. But just remember, if you are a first responder, if you are a peacekeeper, you are doing God's work, and trust in God and ask Him for protection, and just it's a life and death situation. Maybe not yours, but it will be somebody's. So I just want to say that God bless you guys, and I will keep you posted on how it's going at work. If we get busy here in LA, they're already talking about procedures and whatnot. I knew they would. Don't know what they are. They're kind of playing defense right now, but I'll keep you posted, and keep praying, keep looking up. God bless you guys. Bye.